Let's go! Arik Gilbert stat projections, but there is a twist at the end that you will not see coming, okay? You guys, whenever I did my top 5 video, which still is gathering views, thank you. There were so many of you that said, what about Megatron? Why isn't Arik Gilbert on this list? There's so much hype. Let's go. Let's go. This dude is Jadeveon Clowney on offense, and he's already turning heads in camp. There is a reason why Jamal Pettigrew transferred, because the writing's on the wall. This guy is going to be the starter at tight end. If you read the comments that you've heard from O about what Arik Gilbert brings to LSU, it's pretty clear that O expects this guy to play a lot. 4.5 speed, 6'6", a matchup nightmare. Obviously, his spring was cut short overcoming an injury, and overall, tight end is a very difficult position to learn. So, projecting stats is always, up and down. Obviously, a lot of this has to do with quarterback play. Are we going to get what we expect from Myles Brennan? Everyone's talking and hyping up Gilbert, but let's put some numbers out there. Let's see what his season could actually look like. Obviously, to learn all the things that you need to learn to play as a true freshman, especially in LSU's intricate new offense, you have to put in the work. No problem there. Orgeron's already been raving about his work ethic, wanting to get extra reps in. This dude runs ridiculously crisp routes. So when all the off-the-field things adds up to this guy really wanting to be great, it's good news for LSU. Now here's where it gets interesting when comparing the LSU offense to other offenses. What made them so great is that LSU didn't change personnel all that often. They kept three wide receivers on the field. Of course, that's Jefferson, Chase, and Marshall. And oftentimes, they kept Thaddeus Moss and Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the field for 2 reasons. Number one, whenever you split Moss or Helaire out to the outside, it lets you know what kind of defense they're going to run, because if the linebacker goes on out with them on the outside, it's pretty clear that the defense is going to run man coverage. And because of that information, that helped Joe Burrow recognize defenses faster. LSU also didn't change personnel all that often, because when you're running a hurry up, no huddle, and you have the defense on their heels, and you don't substitute offensive players, that means the defense isn't allowed the opportunity to substitute themselves. So it not only creates rhythm and continuity, it also creates a big mismatch for the defense as far as how fast you can run plays. So for Arik Gilbert to have ridiculous freshman stats, he needs to cement himself as the Thaddeus Moss role on the team. So from a personnel standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. If Arik Gilbert is the starter, he's going to play a lot of snaps because LSU doesn't substitute a whole lot. Thaddeus Moss last year in 15 games set LSU records at tight end. 47 catches for 570 yards and 4 touchdowns. LSU season for right now is a 10-game SEC schedule. So 10 to 15, 2 to 3, you can do the math here. And it comes out to a rough season of 32 catches, 380 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 10 games if Thaddeus Moss only played 10 games. So if Arik Gilbert is to have a Thaddeus Moss type season, those would be his numbers. Can he get to those numbers? That is what you would expect from the starting LSU tight end if the offense were to play at the same level. Well, it's going to be tough because we all know this. It's pretty simple. Myles Brennan is not going to be as good as Joe Burrow, especially in year 1. And honestly, no quarterback in the college football world will ever come close to what Joe Burrow did. To throw for 278 yards and 5 touchdowns in the first game against Georgia Southern, and that be your lowest passing yard total of the year, no other quarterback's ever going to do that. especially against an SEC schedule. Historically, freshman tight end numbers aren't that great. Since 2013, there's only been one tight end in the SEC to eclipse 30 catches. Now remember, this is your normal 12 to 13 game season, only one. And that happened last year. Hunter Henry, one of the best tight ends in the NFL, the former Mackey Award winner from Arkansas, his freshman year, 28 catches, 12 games. So think about all the great tight ends that have played in the SEC. DJ Williams, OJ Howard, Irv Smith from Louisiana. None of them got close to 30 catches in their first year. Something else I think will happen, now I don't have any intel on this, but as of right now, the slot receiver job is Racey McMath. That is according to the head man himself, Ed Orgeron. McMath has a lot of chemistry with Myles Brennan. So the starters are McMath, Terrace Marshall, and of course, the GOAT, Jamar Chase. You want those three guys on the field as much as possible. And then, of course, you have your running back, whether that be Curry, Emery, or TDP. They're also going to be on the field. You can also see Racey McMath, who has a big tight end-esque frame, playing the tight end role in this offense some series. And then that allows you to get snaps to Trey Palmer, a former five-star. Kayshon Boutte, probably the fastest LSU receiver since Xavier Carter. And then you have Coy Moore. What about John Trey Kirkland? He has some experience. Jeray Jenkins is still on the roster. So some of those guys might get Some of those guys might get snaps at the wide receiver position. And Racey McMath is very versatile. I can easily see him playing the tight end role if need be. But as of right now, I expect Gilbert to win the role, be ahead of any other tight end we've ever seen in the SEC. If I were to throw a stat line out there, I'm going Gilbert 250 yards, 20 catches, 3 TDs as a freshman, which would be a pretty freaking incredible year, probably good enough to be a freshman All-American. But there is one major twist that you're only going to get on Power Hour LSU, but I first have to shout out you. Yes, you, the subs. We're rolling, baby. Oh my goodness, did I really just kick my camera? So, as we always do, we shout out you subscribers. I need some energy in the comment section. Shout out to you, Arik. You are right. The Bama trolls did come after me, saying that Alabama was not the toughest team on LSU's schedule. If you want to see who the biggest challenge is for LSU next year, and no, it is not overrated Florida, you can just click this link right here or in the description below. But yeah, go watch that last video. It's weird. We had 2.2 thousand people watch one video and then 200 watch the other. So watch all of our videos. Like I said, hit the bell whenever you subscribe and you get a notification on your devices. And the good news, we are over 300 subscribers. And when we get to 400, we'll do a few live shows right here on the tube. Let's go. So, the twist. What is this twist? Well, Ed Orgeron, and I praised him in my offensive line video just a few videos ago. I don't know why college coaches don't do this. Orgeron's not afraid to flip a position. And by flipping a position, I mean switching one player to the other side of the ball. We saw it with Devonta Lee, who was once a wide receiver. Now he's a linebacker. But in the offensive line video, we did talk about how if Joseph Evans was able to find his way on the field, that would mean LSU would be starting 3 former defensive linemen on the offensive side of the ball. So don't get carried away here. I'm not saying that LSU should flip Gilbert on the other side of the ball, but I'm kind of saying that if something doesn't work itself out. We all know Gilbert is going to be a star. Every top 5 nationally ranked player that has come to LSU has never bust, especially the last top 5 guys. Stingley, Fournette, and Lyle Collins. They've not only been good, they've been superb. So Gilbert is going to be an elite tight end. But who's to say you can't play him both ways? Now, I'm not saying play him every snap at defensive end, but play him in clear passing situations on third down. You guys saw it last year with good old Dave Aranda. He could not get off the field in massive third down situations. Well, lucky enough, LSU's offense was so good it didn't even matter. And then you can go all the way back to John Chavis's defenses. They struggled to get off the field as well on big third down situations. LSU lost their best pass rusher, Chason, to the NFL, so you got to find some guys that can get after the football. And it's more important if you're running the traditional 4-3 that Bo Pelini wants to run. You got to have two bookend defensive ends that can get around the corner and get to the quarterback. So Justin Thomas surprisingly left the program, and it leaves a lot of defensive snaps out there, defensive end snaps out there. Andre Anthony, Trevez Moore, Glenn Logan are obviously more experienced players. Ali Gay, a JUCO transfer who I've heard a lot of good things about. And LSU did a good job with this freshman class itself, getting good pass rushers in B.J. Ojulari and Phillip Webb. So you're just hoping that two of these guys can be your potential pass rush specialists. It's very difficult to get to the quarterback. In fact, LSU, as great as their defenses have been, they've actually lacked elite traditional pass rushers off the edge. Even Daniil Hunter, who's one of the best LSU defensive ends ever, when he was at LSU, 1.5 sacks in his final year. All these guys deserve all the snaps to prove themselves if they can generate pass rush. But if they can't, you don't have Joe Burrow that can outduel every quarterback until the final whistle. You're going to have some defensive ends that can close out games in the fourth quarter. And remember, Arik Gilbert is basically Jadeveon Clowney. They're very similar athletes. You know, Barton Simmons, 247 Sports, or it was one of the 247 analysts, they said early in Gilbert's career that he looked like a better defensive end prospect than tight end. Gilbert did play defensive end some snaps at Marietta, and he was pretty daggum good there. Who's to say he can't do both? Play tight end, and then in third and long situations, you bring him in as a pass rusher, maybe even as an interior pass rusher. The dude is a huge, strong beast freak of nature. Let's say he goes out there at defensive end and turns out to be a ridiculous stud. That might be a better thing for him when he gets to the NFL. The highest paid tight end in the NFL, and for good reason, is George Kittle at $15 million a year. Next is Travis Kelsey, and then after that, there's only two other tight ends that make north of $10 million, which is obviously a lot of good money, more money than I'll ever make in my life. But let's look at defensive end salary. There are 15 defensive ends in the NFL that make that kind of money. And right there at 16 is our boy Daniil Hunter. 25 NFL defensive ends make $10 million or more, while 4 tight ends make $10 million or more. So, on average, there's almost one defensive end per team that's making $10 million a year. I'm just throwing that out there. It's just an idea, and that's only if the LSU defensive ends that they have already can't prove that they can get to the quarterback. I would think that 2 of those guys, at least 2 of them, could be your pass rush specialist, and maybe a third to spell them, but that's basically where we are right now. Boom! What did you guys think? Was that a good twist? I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, Ed Orgeron's already innovated and has been that one coach that's not afraid to play or flip guys from opposite sides of the ball. Orgeron's already said that Derek Stingley Jr., not this year, but the next year, is going to play some offense. So this is something that he's committed to, this idea. Maybe that could be an idea that could work for LSU. I don't know. Let me know what you think below. So let's set the line at 20.5. If you believe Arik Gilbert's going to eclipse 20 catches, type O for over. Or if you think he's going to go under 20 catches, 20 and a half catches, type U for under. Also, I got to shout him out, man. I bawled, and I mean bawled my eyes out at the Chadwick Boseman news, man. Wakanda, man. Wakanda forever. So, thank you, Chadwick, for everything you do. How can we have a year where we lose Chadwick and Kobe? Man, 2020. It's power. Our LSU. Boom. Pow. 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 That looks weird.